Close your eyes. Just for a moment, forget everything you know about being safe. Listen very closely. Do you hear that? That rhythmic, almost imperceptible thump behind the drywall? The soft, dragging sound in the attic right above your bed? You tell yourself it's the house settling. You tell yourself it's just the cooling pipes or a stray branch scratching the window. You cling to those excuses because the alternative is too terrifying to face. But houses don't breathe. Houses don't have heartbeats. Houses don't watch you. Welcome to the horrifying reality of phrogging. The name sounds almost innocent, like a child's game. But in the shadows of the true crime world, it is the ultimate violation of human privacy. It is a slow, parasitic invasion. It's when a complete stranger decides that your home is now their home. They share your air. They eat from your plates when you're at work. They stand in the doorway of your bedroom, watching the steady rise and fall of your chest while you dream, safely tucked under your blankets. Tonight on Ciphered Truth, we are diving deeper than ever before. We aren't looking for ghosts or spirits. We are looking for the very real monsters made of flesh and bone who turn crawl spaces into bedrooms and your safe sanctuary into their hunting ground. By the end of this journey, I promise you, you will never look at your closet or your attic the same way again. Let us travel back to a quiet, unassuming town called Townsend, Massachusetts. The year was 1986. The Andrews family lived in a house that felt warm and full of life. But slowly that warmth began to turn into a chilling, inexplicable dread. It started with the smallest anomalies. A glass of water left on the nightstand would be found half empty on the kitchen floor the next morning. The TV would flicker to a different channel when no one was holding the remote. Brian Andrews, the father, was a logical man. He dismissed it as teenage pranks or simple forgetfulness. But his daughters, Annie and Jessica, knew better. They felt a heavy, suffocating presence every time they entered their room. They began to hear it. A slow, deliberate scratching inside the walls. Like something with long fingernails was trying to find a way out. One evening, the terror turned visceral. They walked into their bedroom to find the walls smeared with what looked like fresh blood, and a message scrawled in a jagged, trembling hand. The breaking point came in the dead of night. The girls were jolted awake by a shadow standing at the foot of their bed. A pale, skeletal figure, dressed in tattered dark rags, holding a rusted hatchet. His eyes were wide, vacant, and fixated on them. He didn't speak. He didn't scream. When Brian rushed into the room, the figure simply dissolved into the shadows of the closet. When the police arrived, they didn't find a ghost. They found a secret. Behind a loose wooden panel in a tiny walk-in closet, they discovered a space no wider than 12 inches. And there, curled up in the insulation like a human spider, was 17-year-old Daniel LaPlante. He hadn't just been hiding. He had been living there for months. He had carved a labyrinth of tunnels through the very skeleton of the house. He knew when they showered. He knew what they talked about at dinner. He was the invisible witness to their most private moments. He wasn't just an intruder. He had become a part of the house itself. Now, let's move to a more modern yet equally paralyzing nightmare. 2013 Ohio. A group of college students were sharing a large old rental house. It was a place of laughter, loud music, and constant activity. They thought they were the only souls under that roof. But the house began to talk back. It started with the missing. Not jewelry or money, but survival items. A fresh loaf of bread would vanish in an hour. A new gallon of milk would be found empty in the sink. Socks would disappear from the laundry. They laughed, they blamed each other, they made jokes about a hungry ghost. But the jokes died when the footsteps began. Heavy, dragging footsteps that echoed from the ceiling. There was no floor above them, only a steep, peaked roof that had been sealed for decades. One afternoon, one of the roommates, fueled by a mixture of anger and pure fear, followed the sound to a utility closet. He saw a small hatch in the ceiling. The paint, which had been dried shut for years, was freshly cracked. He climbed a ladder, his hands shaking, and pushed the hatch open. The smell hit him first, the smell of stale sweat and unwashed clothes. It wasn't an empty attic. It was a den. There was a mattress, a stack of books stolen from their own shelves, A laptop plugged into an extension cord that had been snaked through the light fixtures. A man had been living there for nearly a year. He was a phantom roommate. He had memorized their class schedules. The moment they left for campus, he would descend. He would cook their food, use their towels, and sit on their couch, basking in the silence of their home. The most soul-crushing discovery? The students found a camera on the man's belongings. On it there were photos. Photos of them, taken from the dark cracks of the attic hatch. Photos of them laughing on the couch, taken from just a few feet away. He had been watching them like a scientist watches a specimen in a jar. He was never a stranger. He was their silent, uninvited guardian of the dark. What? Why would someone choose the darkness of a crawlspace over the light of the world? For some, it is a desperate need for shelter. But for many, it is the voyeuristic thrill. The power of being present but absent. They don't just want your house, they want your life. They want to be the secret heartbeat of your home. They know where you keep the spare key. They know that you always check the front door twice before bed, but you always forget to lock the window in the basement. They aren't just in the walls, they are in your routine. Tonight, as the sun goes down and the shadows in your room begin to stretch, I want you to do one thing for me. Take a flashlight. Go to that closet you haven't opened in months. Look into the dark corners of your basement. Listen to the silence. Is it truly silent? Or is there a faint, rhythmic breathing coming from behind your headboard? Because the most terrifying truth of all is that a lock only works if the monster is on the other side. If you have felt a presence or heard a sound that didn't belong, tell us your story in the comments. We are listening. Don't forget to subscribe to Ciphered Truth for more deep dives into the things that hide in plain sight. Stay vigilant. Stay safe.